I do not care whether a Cambridge academic plagiarized somebody else's work. Why would I care? Because the conversation about Jason Arday is not actually about that. It's about the aesthetic, and the aesthetic of the conversation reflects the Western world's unprocessed hatred of black people and the guilt and the trauma they feel about that dating back to slavery and colonialism. Now, because they are unable to face it, because they are unable to process it, it comes out with these bizarre intellectual justifications. People claim they care about equality or meritocracy, and that's why they oppose diversity initiatives. Or they claim in this instance to care about academic freedom or intellectual property. It's never, ever about that. It's about the inability to deal with a black academic with dreadlocks sitting up on a high academic throne in Cambridge, or a black president, which is where a lot of this all came out in the first place. It was like Obama forced people to look at their shadow. They couldn't handle it, so it went underground and it got nastier and more aggressive, and out comes Trump, a walking, talking shadow, an exercise in unconsciousness and grotesquerie. So that's what this conversation is actually all about, and there will be more and more cases like this until the Western world deals with its own past, its own guilt, its own trauma, and its own hatred of black people.
For all the times I've been told you have to work twice as hard to get to the top, this is the consequence. This is the consequence of being black and successful. By now, you should have all heard of Jason Arday, a black professor at Cambridge University who was found dead in his apartment after being accused of plagiarism, and a massive witch hunt was started by this man. A man that looks like he can be accurately drawn without lifting the pen off the paper.
Yep, this is Nathan Koffler,
who, in a nutshell, wrote papers about how he believes white people are more intelligent than black people. So Cambridge University started looking into all of these plagiarism allegations, do your thing. And what it turned into was a massive journalist witch hunt where they dug into his personal life looking for absolutely anything he could have possibly have lied about. Hundreds of articles and media posts later, some of the things these people were outraged about were ridiculous, like...
I don't believe that he was very nearly a professional snooker player.
Who actually cares? Does it take away from his achievements? And let's be honest, for those who have never lied or waffled in their life, let's say hypothetically he did waffle about that, If we were to investigate every single man in a senior position, we will find a lot of them waffle to get through doors and into ladies' pants. There would be a lot of investigations taking place. So I'm going to end it with this. These are some of the people that are working at Cambridge University who have been accused of plagiarism. And these two are the ones that have been forced to resign. Now, I'm not going to tell you what these two have in common. I don't think it's their fashion sense. But for all those people that always say, oh, all you do is talk about race, all you do is talk about race. This is what happens when we talk about it. Imagine what would happen if we stayed silent.
Jason Arday was found dead just a few hours ago. This is how many stories the Daily Telegraph published about a young black academic in the UK accused of plagiarism, and they have made this into a massive culture war DEI story. They published 33 articles in 16 days. On some days, they published up to 4 articles. Here's a list of some of the outlets that I decided just to choose and see how many articles that they've written in the space of 2.5 weeks about a story about a young black academic who tonight has been found dead in Battersea in London. They haven't officially released the cause of death, and they've said that there's no foul play. People can make their own assumptions until the official statement comes out. But the Daily Telegraph, as I said, 33 articles. The Spectator, 30 articles in 2.5 weeks about a young black academic who's been accused of plagiarism. The Times, 41 articles. GB News, 15, but they don't publish as much written stuff. They mentioned him literally every hour on TV. Daily Mail takes the crown, 53. Of course, it's the Daily Mail. And the BBC 15 times. Why has a story about a young black academic being accused of plagiarism, not even found guilty, from a story which originally was published by a guy on Substack who has previously been accused and actually had his relationship severed with certain organizations because he's promoted literally eugenic ideas about racial hierarchies and hereditary intelligence? That is the guy who originally broke this story on Substack, that there's possible plagiarism with this young black academic in Cambridge. And and we've got this. We've got non-stop back-to-back coverage, everything on every social media platform, on every TV, right-wing media outlets, centrist media outlets. I've even seen The Guardian covering this multiple times. Why did it need this much attention? Really? With everything else going on in the world, it needed this much attention, and now a guy is dead. Right now, journalists are on social media defending their journalism, talking about public interest. I've seen plagiarism stories get covered before. One-day stories, they're forgotten. Okay, they are forgotten. Tell me why we've needed 2.5 weeks of some outlets publishing up to 4 articles a day on this story. It's because they're racist. It's because they're pushing the whole, everything that's wrong with the country is because of black and brown people, immigrants, and DEI. Nothing else. The country is literally on fire this week. We're running out of water. Our crops are half the size of what they should be. And there's so much stuff going on around the world. But this story has got more coverage than all of these topics. Consistently. Up to 4 articles a day, The Telegraph. Up to 4 articles in a single day. Why? Why? You know why.
Dear racist white people, stop me when you hear a lie. White people have been caught lying too. Rachel Reeves lied all over her CV. Jonathan Reynolds claimed to be a solicitor. Now, how could you make such a claim? The media did not drive those people, thankfully, to do the unthinkable. But after Professor Jason Arday stepped down because he said, I've reached the limit to anyone can reasonably be expected to reach, the media kept going after him. Left-wing media, right-wing media. In fact, they went after him more after he resigned. They wanted more. What more do you get from someone after they resigned? Did you want him to do something to himself? When Rachel Reeves was found to have lied about her experience, did they attack the fact that she was white? No. The headline did not read, white appointee caught lying. But for Professor Jason Arday, his skin color is all that mattered.
Have you ever heard of Simon Goldhill, the University of Cambridge professor who resigned a couple of months ago after a sexual assault investigation? What about Dr. Peter Hutchinson? 10 female undergraduates made complaints against him for sexualised and sexist language. The University of Cambridge allowed him to continue in his role, but with some restrictions. When he broke those restrictions, he was permanently excluded from the university, then reappointed 2 years later, although he later resigned. What about Professor David Latchman? He presided over a laboratory that for over a decade consistently produced fraudulent research, including manipulating images and making up data. He's now the Vice-Chancellor of the University of London. Do you know who Sylvia Bouffon-Paus is? 13 papers, either authored or co-authored by her, had to be redacted due to data and image manipulation. She still works at the University of Manchester today. I'm guessing for 99% of you, the answers were no, you've never heard of them. And I'm only picking on those 4 people due to brevity. This video could be 10 times longer. But you've all definitely heard of Jason Arday, who tragically died yesterday. Let's just assume for this mind experiment that every accusation against Arday is correct. He plagiarised his thesis, he could talk before he was 11, and he exaggerated how much money he'd raised for charity and distances walked. Do you think the media attention given to Arday's alleged wrongdoings is proportional to the wrongdoings of the academics I previously mentioned? Even after he said he couldn't handle the media attention and resigned, the media still hounded him with stories such as Arday was late for work. And if you believe that Arday's alleged wrongdoings received a disproportionate amount of media attention, why do you think Arday received the kind of scrutiny that these other academics did not?
Need to ask the fundamental question that is quite glaring to everyone who is white and who is intelligent and could read between the lines. The first black professor that has ever emerged in Cambridge over a period of 800 years suddenly terminates his life. As far as I'm concerned, it's not about the issue of plagiarism. It's about the fact that he is a black person. And as much as the West wants to deny and always talk about anti-racism and how we have moved on from the periods of the colonial masters into the modern era of assimilation and oneness, we can't help but deny the role that the media had done in sending this guy to his early grave, knowing that Professor Jason Arday was an autistic person. How could you have this black professor with dreads or his head locked walk around. It's not the typical image of a Cambridge institution. Why would he be the one that you would have such volume of articles come against him in a period of 2 weeks? And now they have forced his hands to take his life. It's a sad one, but it's still a reminder that racism is alive and is well. It is not just in the US, but it's in the UK and in most parts of the world, as much as we try to pretend about it. While UK faces other dying issues, economic crisis, issues that were never covered, Jason Arday was made the subject of discussion. Not only were they challenging his professorship, they were challenging his private life, his childhood stories, and everything about him with intention to discredit him. And those who were sitting in their high horses judging this young man were totally incompetent to do so. If you're coming across my YouTube channel, you're welcome. I want to know what your thoughts, your opinion are in the comment section. Hit the notification button, hit the subscription button, so that when we bring new updates, you'll be the first to be notified. So let's get into the comment section and let the conversation begin. See you on the next one.